Thank you to our sponsors for today's video: Amber, StarCharge, Nokian Tyres, and InfyPower. Amber, providing modern protection plans for your Tesla's battery and more, without the hassle of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description to explore their plan options and use code SPEC5 for a 5% discount on all plans. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage, as well as microgrid solutions. Nokian Tyres, a leader in safety and sustainability, maximize performance and efficiency with their made-in-USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantires.com/EV. And InfyPower, the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video and another 70 mile per hour highway range test. Today we will be seeing how far the new Porsche Taycan goes on a charge. Now, we've done plenty of videos on the J1.2 Taycan, which is sort of the facelift or PA, lots of different names for this thing. But what we haven't done is done a range test on the perfect range spec. Now, that's sort of true because I did a hypermile test on a pretty much equivalently spec'd Taycan rear drive, big battery in California, and I went well over 400 miles. I think 420, 430 miles. I can't even remember. But it was, nearing close to 450 miles on a charge. But that was a hypermile test at an average speed in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range. Today, we're going to be running 70 mile per hour constant on our test loop here in northern Colorado, up into Wyoming and Nebraska, and then back where we will run the car from full all the way to where it stops moving completely dead on the side of the road. So let's see how far the new Taycan goes at 70 miles an hour. And here it is, the new 2025 Porsche Taycan. And this car has been through a lot with us. We've used this in the I-90 surge. We've piled the miles on it afterwards. We then brought it back here to Colorado for testing, and it absolutely smashed the 10% challenge. I think we've proven that the Taycan is an incredible charging machine with pretty good efficiency. But what we really want to find out now is truly how far can we go at highway speeds on a single charge. And well, winter is coming, as they say, and it is sort of one of the last few days of good conditions. So it's very important that we run this test today and we get a good test in at warm-ish weather. It's just over 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside, very minimal wind. We're getting very lucky here, and I've waited for over a week for this perfect weather condition to come. It's been so windy here in the northern Colorado area. We're getting lucky today that especially even throughout the evening, the wind keeps dying down and dying down. So by the time we're ready to leave and we're fully charged, the wind will be even less than it is now, and it is pretty low. Anyway, what do you need to know about the car? Well, it is the new Porsche Taycan, which means it has a 105 kilowatt hour gross battery pack and about 97 and a bit usable. Now, this car is a little bit higher mileage than I would like to normally test. It's not the end of the world, but it has somewhere around 12,000 miles on it. Still pretty fresh, still pretty representative, and definitely good enough for our test here today. So I'll walk you through some of the testing procedures, a little bit more detail about the car, and then we'll hit the road. So the testing procedures, well, our 70 mile per hour test is as standard. I've set the tire pressures when cold to the recommended tire filling pressure that the manufacturers provide. And what you'll notice actually in the car is that the tire pressure warning indicator will be on, and that's just because I have installed these aero wheels, and the TPMS is not programmed to the car. Yep, don't know why I can't get it to program. Maybe these wheels and tires don't have TPMS, but I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, we've used these for a bunch of our Taycan testing. This car was actually delivered from Porsche on the 20-inch aeros, which maybe it's worth doing another test on those just so people can see the impact of wheel size. If we have another good comparable weather day, I'll certainly do that. But at least here, this is sort of the benchmark of the car. We always try to get at least one test in where you can spec a vehicle in its most efficient setting. And that is on these wheels, on these tires, and we are good to rock and roll. And I'll show you those outside in a moment. So tire pressures are set, even though you'll see the indication here on the dash. And some of you commented on that in the 10% challenge, and forgive us for not mentioning it. We're just so used to the warning being on because we've only driven this car on the aero wheels and tires that we installed. We then will basically precondition the car, warm up the battery, get all the bearings nice and toasty, and then we will juice it up to full. So DC charging all the way to 100%. Once we're at 100%, we're going to kick on range mode, set the climate control between 68 and 72, and go from 100 till we stop moving, till it's completely dead off the side of the road. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens here. I've run a Taycan to dead a few times, as I'm sure you can imagine, and well, this is going to be another one. One of my favorite features of Taycan, you can see the tire pressure error right there, and you can see it's yelling at us because the charging station here cannot output as much power as we want. Technically, these should be 200 kilowatt chargers, but I think a power module died in one of the bricks, and because they're only showing 160 kilowatts available, and that sort of is close to what we're getting here, 152 kilowatts. What I love about Taycan is this gray bar is what the car would want right now. So it would want over 300 kilowatts of charging power at the moment, even here at 55%. In fact, the new Taycan doesn't request less than 300 kilowatts of charging power, assuming you're at the right temperature, until you're at about 63 to 65%. It's absolutely amazing with its charging performance, and that's why this car smokes the 10% challenge. But I love that it's like, here's what you're getting, here's what the car's asking for, and the reason it's not coming is because of the charging station. Hell yeah. That's all the good info we want. Well, I have moved over the Nero left, so I took this spot only because A, we'll get a little bit higher power because that side was down a module, and this is where I normally get our thumbnails with the car in this parking spot. Anyway, what do we have new for Taycan that would be important to you guys for the range test? Well, the wheel and tires. We're on the Continental Pro Contact RX, and I believe they have a couple different 19-inch tire suppliers, and there might be even a new one for 2025, but I believe this is also available in the 2025, so we are to specification for our range test today. Again, pressures are set, everything is good. Interestingly, every new Taycan comes standard with the power charge port, unless you get the Turbo GT with Vice pack, because you actually do want I would always prefer the manual charge port with the vent here, because it would relieve some high pressure area from the wheel well and also helped with range and track use. And I was like, I don't need the power charge ports. I'm always fighting them anyway, but now they're standard on the car. And which means that the electric motor for the charge port rests down in here. So this is all blocked off, a fake vent. So that actually won't help with the range, but just the big battery, there's some small aero improvements. The back of the car stays largely the same for the PA, but up front, things are different. You have a completely different shape here on the fenders. The headlights fit differently. The bumper is different. And you can tell this is the base car, or I should say one of the standard trims, because if you get a little triangle looking thing in the bumper, that means it's Turbo or Turbo S or Turbo GT now. So anyway, I mean, the car, we all know Taycan on this channel really well. It's a solid roof car. We're going to throw it in range mode like it is now, dump the suspension, and do the range test. It's got the new battery. It's got 2-speed transmission on the rear axle, which I was really hoping they would get rid of for the refresh, but it's still there. It's still a little bit clunky, but it should help in this test, since when we're in range mode and even normal mode, it kind of locks itself just in second gear all the time, which should make it even a little bit more efficient. But it's just like a typical German solving electrical issues with mechanical solutions. The new G-Class, same thing with their new low range. Oh well, I think Lucid and Tesla have proven you can get the performance and the range with a single motor, or excuse me, a single gear on the axle. But anyway, just a rear drive, permanent magnet motor. Excited to see what happens here. We're going to juice her up to 100. Doesn't take very long in this car to charge, even at low power chargers. Voltage is quite high on the new Taycan. I can show you here. We're at 821 volts at 76%. It's a little bit higher voltage than the previous generation Taycan, which is a great thing. The higher the voltage, the better. So anyway, once it hits 100, we'll get ready to rock and roll, reset the trip computers, and do our thing. You can see here we are charging up now at 80%, 83%, doing 110 kilowatts, and the car's getting everything it wants. So we're following the internal charge profile, the gray line, what it's asking for, the green line, pretty much filling it up there. The charger meeting the car's request. It's not freaking out anymore. It's not yelling at me about charging performance. And these little dots right there means that's the optimal window for fast charging. When you're actually able to, at lower state of charge, when you're in the region between those two temperature bars, you will get at least 150 kilowatts on plug-in. That's what they sort of mean. But up here at the higher state of charge region, of course, the car can't do 150 kilowatts, and therefore it just means that that's the temperature it needs to be in order to achieve maximum charging performance. I love the nerd data this car gives you. The Taycan is all about, you could just drive it as a normal car, never think about any of this, but they give you all the tools to completely optimize it with the different drive modes that completely change the temperature behavior of the car, and the battery pack range mode, for example, keeps the grille shutters closed. It dims the headlights to sort of the lowest legal output limit. They really go into every single little thing. If you get the Burmester, you get an eco mode for your sound system. It's crazy. And, that's what I love about Porsche. They just let you go. You want to optimize it? Well, great. We'll just optimize everything to the max. And if you just want to drive it like a normal car, put it in normal, and you don't really need to know all those things, and the car still will perform well. Before we head out, a little prediction from my side. So the EPA range rating on this car is 318 miles. Taycans in the past always went way past EPA. But I feel like Porsche maybe got a little bit better with EPA range ratings, only because I just tested Macan and it was fairly close to the EPA rating on the highway. Now that was a turbo version, but it still went past. I'm thinking 330 would be my guess, but I don't know. I've been surprised before. So let's see what the heck happens. So I've just turned off climate control and it jumped up from 318 miles to 334. Now, of course, we're not going to do that for the test. Actually, before it completes, I just want to take a look at the pack voltage all the way up on this thing. So let's take a look to see what it is all the way up here. So yeah, 827 volts right up top. So it didn't really climb that much. It seems like Porsche just gets the pack voltage up there and then does a constant current, constant voltage discharge, or I should say ramp down curve, which is how I like to see charging. Just hold it right, the cells right at their maximum, and make this thing rip. It is an incredible charging car. Up top, not so much, but up to about 75, 80%. It's a ripper. And there we go. Charging just completed at 100%, solid green, and that also indicates 100% and no more power going into it. Great. So let's unplug and let's hit the road. We are all unplugged and ready to get moving. So first things first, seatbelt. The car automatically turns on. For those of you who don't know, there is a start stop button, but you don't have to use it. You can just get in and go. Seatbelt, boom. Okay, TPMS, we got it. We know. All is good. Let's reset. Since. There we go. Let's go auto, climate, 68, 70, eco. Range mode. When you're in range mode and you come here, there is an Eco Plus, but that does turn off climate control. It just does like air. Suspension all the way low. Into reverse, Terry, and let's hit the road. Got two Maches here. One from Wyoming. That's cool. People say people don't buy electric cars in Wyoming, but I have seen like 5 Wyoming electric cars today. Alrighty, time to hit the road in the new Taycan. So, of course, this is a wonderful driving car, and in this specification, it's really built as the road tripper. Now, I'll have a video going up soon. I actually shot it of sort of the worst spec for range. I took a Taycan Turbo GT Visoc on a 70 mile per hour test. It wasn't here in Colorado, so it's not going to go on the website, but it will give you a good impression as to the range difference between the top performance spec and the top road trip spec. And the difference, I'm sure, is going to be absolutely massive. So, take this with a grain of salt that whatever number we see today should really be the best possible Taycan number. And then as you spec bigger wheels or 4S, dual motors and turbo and go crazier, yeah, certainly you're going to chip away at that range. So, will have tested both ends of the spectrum, and, you know, we'll fill up the middle as we can. There's just so many versions of Porsches with Macan and Taycan now. There's going to be like 50 different range tests between them. But hey, that keeps me in business. I enjoy it. It's really fun. And you guys seem to watch the videos. I may not post every version. You might see different versions just on the website, but we always follow the same procedures. So 12,500 miles on this one, a little bit more mileage than I would like, and a ton of DC charging. So this battery may not be fresh, but I still think it's pretty representative of a Taycan with low-ish mileage. These things don't seem to have the crazy degradation that everyone likes to claim that they think they will have based off the high-performance DC charging, but I've just never seen it materialize. I know people with very high mileage Taycan still with great capacity, so, you know, that's definitely a story I want to dig into more. Anyway, let's get up to 70 miles per hour. I believe it's 71 indicated. We'll check that here in a minute as well. But just merging, by the time we reach the end of the on-ramp, we really want to be up there. 68, 69, 70, 71, set with active lane centering. Boom, right there. And we are good to go. I've got it all in my head-up display. Why are we slowing down? Let's keep it. Anyway, typical starting things. We'll get through this traffic and run the test. Should be great. I'm just passing a truck, but we are also just about to cross into Wyoming, and we have a whopping 94% state of charge. Okay. That's pretty crazy. You know, every time I come through here and we say we have more than 90% state of charge, that is a, you know, an indication that it's going to be a pretty long range test. But here to do 94, that is pretty amazing. Absolutely incredible result. Again, Taycan may have a nonlinear discharge curve. I think maybe it does, but still 94% crossing here into Wyoming is a mega result. But you can see we are as usual, slowest cars out on the road, just cruising at 71 indicated, perfect conditions, 71 degrees, no wind, sunny, loving this. It will probably get a little bit colder as the sun goes down, but hey, what can you do? We'll keep it in range mode, which keeps the shutters shut, helps with aero, and also helps keep heat in the battery pack, which is what we're looking for. I say that as we just lost a degree, or maybe it went up. I didn't totally look, but I know it changed. Either way, great conditions, beautiful day, and let's cruise. Guys, I gotta show you this. We're in a construction zone, but still able to maintain speed, and we really have not come off 70 miles an hour at all. 81% and 85 miles traveled. What the heck? This thing is just going. I am shocked. This is really good. Now we do have a little bit of a tailwind, but 4 miles per kilowatt hour. What the heck? Guys, the sun, this might be the last sort of bright update. We have that beautiful sunset in the mirror there, and I am really shocked at the moment. Now, granted, we are probably with the tailwind and a little bit lower elevation than starting. This is a bit optimistic, and it's possible there's a nonlinear discharge curve, but excuse me, just let this soak in. 113 miles traveled at 75%. That's well over, what's that, 450 miles roughly? Yeah, 445 plus or minus. Holy smokes. Now, I don't think we're going to get there. I think I don't know if the Macan video's gone up or not. I'm pretty sure it's going to tank on the way back. We have great conditions going this way, but that's why we run a loop styles test. But wow, the freaking range here is unbelievable right now, to the point where I don't think this is real, and I really expect it to tank on the return. And it's not like there's much wind, just a couple mile-an-hour wind, but I do think Porsche kind of gives you a lot for that first 25% that you use, and then it'll kind of tank down later on. So anyway, still plenty of time left to go. It's taking forever. Holy smokes, I did not plan for a 400-mile range test today. I was really thinking 300 plus or minus, and it still might turn out to be that way, but wow, the range here, 75% state of charge check-in, absolutely amazing, and great conditions, might I add, really good conditions. We are coming to our turnaround spot. Now we have plenty of battery left, 66%, and I am navigating back to our original starting location. I have turned off the Porsche charging planner though, and the reason for that is I don't want the car to precondition to a charging station, although when you're in range mode, the Taycan doesn't seem to precondition anyway. And so like, it's funny, if you're preconditioning in normal mode, you hit range, the Porsche charging planner is active, message goes away here, it stops preconditioning, vice versa. The main issue is we're way the heck out in the middle of Nebraska right now, and the wind is picking up, the side wind, and I can just loop closer back to the charger to avoid some more wind. So that's basically what we're going to do, is just head back. The car thinks we have an 11% arrival on the return. We do have a little bit of headwind to push through, which makes sense because we have 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is absolutely incredible, considering over 150 miles of driving. But it's only in one direction, so we really can't make the determination of the round trip efficiency until we get back to the starting point and cancel out as much wind as possible and as much elevation as possible. So we're turning around here a bit early. We'll just loop closer back to the charger. Doesn't really affect results at all. Just means we won't have side wind, which it's really hard to counteract side wind since it hurts you both ways, but it starts basically just past this exit. So back we go towards Wellington. Hello and welcome to a 50% state of charge check-in and a 200 miles traveled. Now, that's really impressive, but I don't actually think we're at 50% state of charge. At least it doesn't make sense. If this car was brand freaking new, we would have about 97 kilowatt hours usable, which would mean if we got 4 miles per kilowatt hour, we still would not reach 400 miles of range. It would be under, because if we had 100 kilowatt hours usable and we got 4 miles per kilowatt hour, it would be 400 miles in a perfect world. We are only getting 3.8. Now I say only, that's still pretty impressive for this car, but we're getting 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour and we've done 200 miles and we're at 50%. All this tells me is I think the Taycan has a non-linear discharge curve, and the second 50% will go by in less time than it took and less distance than it took on the first 50%. It's not unusual for cars to have this. It's fairly common for electric cars. I think we're going to see it here. But the only way to find out is to keep going. Because right now, if you look at this screenshot, it would indicate at first glance a 400 mile total range. And we are very close to starting elevation. However, I don't think it's going to go that far. So, but still, I mean, that's freaking awesome. So, it's still great range. We're already past the BZ4X and we have 50% battery indicated remaining. Hell yeah. But you can also tell the car knows a little bit as well. It's predicting 141 miles left to go. Meanwhile, we've already done 200. So again, nothing unusual, nothing uncommon. Yep, just the way it is here. So let's see if that turns out to be true. You join me now for, well, what just dipped from 25 to 24% state of charge here. It was technically 283 miles. And this is where, okay, yeah, we did gain some elevation, but we've almost canceled it back and our consumption did dip overall. But still, I'm feeling a little bit of non-linear discharge curve action going on here. Interestingly, Taycan's always had a great route planner, but it's been off now by 10%, 11%. It expected us to get back to the starting point at 10 or 11%. Now it's showing 21%. So I've never seen it off that much before. I guess normally I'm driving Taycan much faster. So it must just be tuned for out of spec style, drive fast, charge fast. But you would think it would adapt to your driving style. Anyway, we are now down to the last final 25% of the drive. Alyssa is going to be getting the Lucid ready to pick us up off the side of the road using Range Exchange, which is a fantastic feature of Lucid where I can share power from their vehicle to this vehicle at 40 amps, 240 volts. So what's that, 10 kilowatts, something like that, 9.6. And yep, so let's go. We'll loop up and down this area. We'll run it out on the frontage road. At least let's hope we run it out on the frontage road and all should be good. We are going to be taking the Owl Road exit. Now, you guys know the drill if you've seen any of our videos. It's one exit away from where we've started, but there's a big traffic light down there and we try to avoid it. So it's literally just a couple miles. Right over there is where we start the test, but this is as close as we can get the next exit up the road, where we will, sort of loop around and then eventually get off on the frontage road here. So this is the second time we've come off 70 miles an hour and we're at 23%. This car has up to 200. Hold on, let's think about this for a second. How much regen does Taycan have now? 400 kilowatt regen, I think. Yes, am I right on that? Only in the dual motor though. I'm not sure how much the single motor has for regen, but my guess is maybe a lot. 160 to 200 would be my guess on a single rear axle, maybe more, don't know. Front motor usually does most of the regen because of course all the weight gets on the front, but yep, you can get up to 400 kilowatt regen in Taycan, which is crazy. So anyway, let's jump back on the highway, go back in the opposite direction, heading north, and go until we can't go no mo. But we'll end hopefully somewhere right around here, as close to the charger as possible to cancel out all the elevation. Oh, we have passed 300 miles and we did it at 20% remaining. So that was an easy 300 miles of highway driving with 20% battery remaining. Here we're just on the, already gone past it, dipped to 19, but there you go. That's pretty sick. So I imagine we'll be passing EPA pretty soon. We are back to pretty much the highest point of elevation. We're going to turn around here at the next exit, 6%, and then we'll run it between the Buckeye and Owl as we normally do. I'm mentioning this clip because we've just hit our EPA rated range with 13% remaining. We don't have a turtle mode. The car hasn't yelled at us really. It's all good. But yep, Taycan doing what Taycan does best, I guess, even for the new model year, blowing past EPA. Not even close. And that is, that's awesome. I'm really happy to see it. Macan Turbo, not so much. Maybe Macan 4 will be better. And yeah, either way, the base Taycan here is just going. So let's keep it moving. We are now at 8% state of charge, and you can see this limited power light has come on, and you can see our maximum power output has been reduced to here. Still not enough to trigger turtle mode, but I do like how new Taycan does show this limited power, just to let you know, hey, we can't give you quite full performance down low. We have now passed 350 miles and everything is going well. And I've got us set at a 0% arrival. We have 16 miles of range to go, or 16 miles to go, 17 miles of range. And Alyssa is with the Lucid right there, basically where I have that pin dropped. She'll come in behind me and then we'll run it to dead. So should be perfect. We are on our final stretch on the highway, 2% state of charge. The car is predicting 11 miles of range remaining. It is also saying we have 11 miles left to get there. For a brief second, I saw it happen, so it didn't really sit there, but you can see it says max 55 miles an hour in range mode to make it, and it also put us in Eco Plus climate really quick, but that's not to testing procedures, so I actually put the climate back to Eco mode, which is still allowing some temperature control. We are in turtle mode now, and you can see our gauge has gone red. So I think what we're gonna do, just to play it safe, it doesn't make too much a difference, is we'll get off at Buckeye Road and then take the frontage road down towards Alyssa rather than staying on the highway. I'd much rather run out on the frontage road than the highway. Interestingly, our regen is also severely capped down here. So maybe the battery in the Taycan, yeah, you can see it now says max 160 kilowatts. A lot of electric cars, when you get really low, just don't want to take that much energy. And so that could be them really using the bottom portion of the battery pack here. But anyway, we don't count the end of the 70 mile per hour test until it comes off of cruising at 70. So yeah, what I think we'll do is we'll take the exit here and then we'll run 70 on the frontage road. That way, if we run out, we are on a deserted road and not on a highway. We are now exiting the highway for the last time at 1% state of charge in turtle mode, but that does not mean we are at the end of 70 miles an hour. The car is still predicting 7 miles of range, but keep in mind it knows that it's a bit downhill to where we're ending. So, yep, we're just going to pull off the frontage road here, jump on the frontage road on the other side of the highway. So we just go under this little underpass, and then we'll run out. Alyssa's going to head up towards us in the Lucid, and we'll see how far we can go. And here we are, back up, accelerating to 70 miles per hour. We do not have much performance available. This is wide open throttle, if I'm honest. But I want to get the car up to 70 in a reasonable amount of time, which is rough on the battery pack. It's rough on the whole electrical systems when you're at very low state of charge to ask for big acceleration. But there we go. We no longer need wide open throttle. Cruise control is set, and we are doing the normal thing on the frontage road. Again, climate is still running, and we're still doing 70 miles an hour, so the numbers continue until the car can't maintain 70 anymore. Although what I imagine will happen is we'll maintain 70 miles an hour until the car just shuts off. Then I think there's a reset procedure, or sort of a restart, that I'm really looking forward to trying. So the car will shut off. We'll see what the number is when it comes to a stop. I'm then going to turn it off, turn it back on. And from what I remember with Taycans is there's a little reserve at the bottom. I can't remember totally if it's there or not, but at least in early Taycans it was there. And Macan has it too. It's like a highway, like maneuver the car to a safe place. So yeah, but we're good. We're cruising at 70. The car still says 4 miles of range, 1%. So everything is good here. We are now at 0% state of charge, and Alyssa just passed us in the Lucid, so she's making a U-turn, and we'll probably duck in behind us. We're gonna die here pretty soon, I would imagine. 3 miles of range, 0%, but I think the car is definitely factoring in the elevation loss on this stretch where it can really coast pretty well heading down this way. This is good. I really, of course, want to counteract every bit of elevation and wind that we can on this trip. And wow, a stellar result here. There we go. Critical battery charge, driving performance limited, park vehicle safely, still on cruise control, still working, 2 miles of range now, but still cruising. And yeah, I mean, what we should do is we should pull up the trip computer. If I come here and maybe it's in car, trip, there, there, that's how we can see the range, because once this message comes up you can't actually clear it in the right pod there. So all is good, and now we just wait to see what happens when it dies. So let you know. We are now at dash to empty. It actually went straight from 2 miles to dash to empty, 0% state of charge, and that is the case of what is happening here. So cruising along, I wonder if we'll be able to even get it back up to speed once we come up to the stop sign, because I think we have enough rolling momentum. But then as soon as we turn around and head back up this way, my guess is it will go kaput, and then we can use that maneuvering assistance to get us to a little pull off. Maybe that one right there could be a good one, but not sure what's going to happen here. We are cruising. It is outputting a little bit of power here, right at the very end of the battery pack. We do have to slow down here for the intersection, and not too much time. Oh, did it just die? Full throttle's not doing anything? Yep, I think it's completely out now. That's wide open throttle, and it is, so canceling cruise control, not giving us anything but a little pulse there. So I'm now completely on the floor. 367 miles is when it can no longer maintain 70 miles an hour. So we are completely out, dead. And now what we're gonna see is what happens when we get to the stop. So now we're just coasting. And this actually works perfectly because there's a great pull off right over here. So there's almost no regen, almost no throttle. I mean, literally no throttle. That's off throttle, full throttle, off throttle, a little pulse there. A little pulse, just enough to kind of move the car slightly. Really curious to see what happens as we come here to this intersection. But we've logged the 70 mile per hour test. Now we just get to see what kind of the behavior is down low. So as we come in here, I'm on the brakes. It is regenning. It is taking a little bit of energy back. Okay, interesting, very interesting. So it is taking all of that regen. Very nice. Come to a stop. Let's go to the left. And yeah, this is a perfect place to die right around here, but technically it's still going. We don't need high beams, but look, it is accelerating. So that's interesting that it died completely there. Oh, just died again. So that must have been exactly what we regened. Oh yeah, and here's a perfect little pull off. Nice. Just going to make a U-turn here and then head back towards the highway. So that's again wide open throttle, and it just cut power big time. Cut power again. And now we're in a great spot for it to completely shut off, which is what will happen pretty much right here. I feel like we're just kind of like regenning, and then it lets you use that. I mean, it makes sense. That's kind of a cool feature. So now that we're going to come to a stop here as an example, let's see what happens. Okay, so now it still will move but no, it won't. So that's full throttle, and it is going to a stop. So every time you regen, it puts a little bit more in there. Oh, a little bit of judder from the motor back there. I don't know if you guys could feel that, but brrr. So now let's see what happens if I put it in park. Will it let us go back into drive? Yeah, interesting. No, and the electric motor is like juddering. It's going brrr. So let's see what happens if I shut it off. So the car is off. Turn it back on. It says driver fatigue. Okay, driving performance limited, park vehicle safely. Into drive? Nope, won't move at all. So there doesn't seem to be a little restart. I'm full throttle. The motor's just going brrr. It doesn't sound very happy. So that's it. No restart like the older Taycans or the Macan that I recently did. But that's the end of the range test. 360, what was it? 368? Anyway, I'll double check that. But let's get it charging off to Lucid. Time to shut it off. Open the charge port before we drain the 12 volt. We'll hold this to turn the lights off. There we go. And the PCM can only be used with sufficient battery charge. Let's get the charge port open because it is a electrical connection, and get it juicing. All right. Hit start sharing. There you go. Preparing to share. So no restart like Macan. It just kind of like petered out to the end and then wouldn't move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think it is juicing, right? It says check receiving vehicle to continue. Okay, let's see what the Taycan says. Oh, I just heard this click. And it should be charging now. Yes, this is charging. And again, Taycan has dual charge ports. We're using just the AC side over here. But let's check the screens. See what it shows in here. And we're doing 9 kilowatts right from the start. How about that? Freaking awesome. So let's shut everything off. This one, well, I can shut down the car, of course, but off. And we'll charge up enough to get back to the charger. Well, a big thanks to Alyssa and actually her mom as well. And I've charged the Taycan up for exactly 15 minutes at 40 amps. It shows 2%, 8 miles, critical battery charge still, but I think we're good to go. And we'll just throw it in range mode. Everything is off, and we can just gently head over to the charging station. We'll take the frontage road down and take it nice and gentle. So as we're making our way over to the charging station, let's first discuss the range figure. Well, 367 miles is awesome, especially considering the 318 mile EPA range rating. However, I think if you were to get this car on the big wheels, the wheels that I actually recommend for Taycan are the 21-inch aero wheels because they're narrower, but they still look really good and have an aero profile. That's kind of the wheel I would do, and then maybe have a track set for the weekend or something, just something if you wanted to go do some performance driving. But I really like those 21-inch aeros. My guess is, yeah, you'd be probably 330 miles, 340. Wheels do make a huge difference, and putting on the aeros, these aeros, really no question, is very very important to range. Now, the 20-inch aero wheels that this car came on probably actually would be pretty close to these, I think within 1% or 2%. So, either way, still a fantastic range result. You can spec Taycans a million ways that all will impact range a little bit differently, but ultimately this is the full range spec. However, I will mention it's quite chilly out. We didn't really see 40s during the test, but maybe once or twice it dipped. But, starting in the low 70s, ending in the low 50s, this car definitely would have gone farther in warmer conditions. All cars do. But how much farther? Maybe 10 miles, maybe, plus or minus, I would say somewhere around there. Battery stayed warm the whole time. And of course, there's heat scavenging and a pretty complicated thermal setup on this vehicle to help not waste energy. So that's all of the range topics. And then let's talk about what happens when you run it to zero. Well, that was pretty surprising. Early Taycans that I've run to zero have kind of just stopped, dead, and then there was a restart process where I would turn the car off, turn the car back on, and then I even drove up like a huge hill, like a half a mile once, in that restart program, and that was sort of like a safety maneuver, a few hundred watt hours below zero. And what's interesting is I just a couple days ago ran the new Macan in our test, and it had the restart boost program, and I'm like, okay, cool, I figured this would have it. But it doesn't. This thing just kind of peters out, and 0 is 0. When it shows like 2 miles remaining and then goes dash dash, I'm not even sure we got 2 miles past that point, or at least very on the low end. So when Taycan says 0, they mean 0. They're giving you everything. And honestly, I like that. I don't like the guesswork of buffers. When, to me, I want to know exactly when the car is going to die. 0 means one thing. It means it's dead. Don't give me a buffer. Let me use the battery. I want to use the battery as a road tripper, but I'll manage it. And to me, like I said throughout this video, Taycan is perfect for the EV nerd, for maybe the viewer of this video, because you totally know exactly everything that's happening. And now we've confirmed when it says 0 miles, boom, this thing shuts off. I love that. No guesswork, no relying on a buffer and getting nervous. Like, is it there? Is it not going to be there? It's all about knowing what you have to work with. And what you have to work with is right in front of you. They're not hiding anything. I absolutely love that. So, stellar result here in the Taycan. Let's get it plugged into the DC charger, and we'll end the video over there. And the pack voltage this low, 650 volts, but that's under some load right there. So maybe low 600s here at 2%. Yeah, pretty much on the floor. So you have basically a 600 to 830 volt operating window in the J1.2 Taycan. So there you guys have it, 367 miles at 70 miles an hour in the new Taycan. Again, maybe warmer conditions would have brought it up, like I said, maybe mid 370s, something like that, but that's this time of year, that's the number we got. And of course the car had some mileage on it, but we still got a ton of range, blowing past EPA easily, considering it has now 13,000 miles of pretty much DC charging and having the snot kicked out of it. Still incredible performance here, and certainly doesn't have the range of the Lucid, but if you look at the 10% challenge, the charging performance of this just makes it a monster on a road trip. So you're giving up, let's just say 100, 120 miles of usable range between the two cars, but gaining so much more charging. So I think, going between these two, well, that's always going to be the age-old debate of 2025 coming up, isn't it? Well, we have plenty of content to make, but there you go. That's how far the new Porsche Taycan goes on a charge. Thanks so much for watching. See you on another one again soon. Bye-bye. And just a little bonus, little NMC tip here, or I guess quirk. You can see we're already up to 720 volts, about 100 volts higher than when we first plugged in. And that's how you know that Porsche probably doesn't have much of a bottom buffer on this car, because with cell chemistry, you'll have this discharge curve with voltage, and right at the bottom, it'll dip low, and right at the top, it'll go up pretty high. So you do have these spikes on the bottom and top, and yep, now it'll just kind of climb like this normally throughout the rest of the charging session. So everything looking pretty normally.